If you keep it simple, pick one strategy and execute that strategy to the best of your ability every time, and just get a little better and a little better and a little better at one strategy all the time, you will make this. That day I made money. So I did the same the next day, and then the next day. And it was a day at a time, and then a week at a time, and then we had a great Christmas.
All right, sitting down today with James Nord, who is a trader as well as a profit managing director. Looking forward to talk with you, James, about trading and how you got into it and a bit of advice with people. But good to have you here. Good to connect with you.
Thanks for having me, yeah.
Awesome. Let's start with this now. I always kind of want to dive into this first, which is how did you get started in trading? What did you come across trading in the first place?
Right, so 2018, I was about to be made redundant, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I never wanted another job of the capacity I had. I was working 16-hour days. I was doing a lot of hours, and there was no life. I was still working on Saturdays, so I thought there has to be more to life than working for a living, right? So I'd been interested in trading for quite a while, but never really traded. I'd never placed a trade or anything, but I'd always had a bit of an interest. So I actually got myself a little bit of education, fell in love with it, probably overtraded for, the first year or so, made every mistake under the sun, literally made every mistake under the sun, but got quite good quite quickly. Learned off a lot of great people, learned risk management is everything. But then I gave up my full-time job and I couldn't make any money for 3 months. And it was either I've got to do this and get my head right into the game, or I've got to literally give it up and go and get a job. And I really didn't want another job. So yeah, I started becoming profitable, and profitable since. Not every day, but month on month, yeah. Profitable. You can't be profitable every day. Not in this game, not as a day trader. But people don't understand that generally. Been full-time trading now, professional trader for the last 4 years.
So tell me about what made you want to go into trading as an engineer. You probably had a pretty good job, a full-time job. What made you want to go into trading?
It ticked a lot of boxes for me. So I could work at my own hours, at my own pace, earn the same sort. Well, I thought I could earn the same sort of money to begin with as I was earning, with a full-time job. That's not quite the case. I didn't earn quite as much as I did when I had a job, but the freedom in this environment is everything. I mean, at the moment, I'm in my holiday home. I've got a great life now. I can do almost anything I want whenever I want to do it. And it was a little bit of a dream in the beginning, because when you start, you don't realize that this is what you can do. But eventually, as you get a little bit better and you just chip at it, eventually, when you do get better, it can be life-changing. Now, I don't believe it's for everyone. There are a few things you've got to get in control of. You can't gamble at this. You need a strict strategy. Most people could do this. 95% of people could do this.
How was the learning curve of you learning to trade? Did you kind of learn online, or tell me about what went through you getting to be profitable in trading eventually?
I did some online learning. I joined a few programs. I joined one company and met Raj, my business partner, for D&D, and we lean on each other a lot. So I learned a lot from him. He learned a lot from me. He's been trading a lot longer than I have. He's been trading, I think, 15 years now, primarily with stocks. And he was a swing trader, really. Now he's become more of a day trader, likes the faster pace of life. This is all about lifestyle for us and the business and the traders we work with. It's about the lifestyle. So I'll just trade a few hours in the morning, hour, maybe 2 in the afternoon, depending on what I'm doing in the day. And this is the lifestyle that we really look for.
Did you get profitable from the start, or did you have to change some things and maybe adapt a little bit to get profitable?
Of course, you've got to change things. So you can go and pick. There's a million strategies out there, right? you can go and pick one of a million strategies or 10 of a million strategies and confuse yourself. If you keep it simple, pick one strategy and execute that strategy to the best of your ability every time, and just get a little better and a little better and a little better at one strategy all the time, you will make this. But you've got to have your psychology right, and you've got to have your risk management right. There's no point at all going for, risking, say, £100 to make £10. There's no point in that at all. It just doesn't work. There are lots of things out there that don't work. There are lots of things that do work, but keep those things simple. Because we're human, right? We can't overthink everything. We see a trade, we've got to press the button. We've got to know where our stop loss is. We've got to know where our profit target is before you actually press that button. Now, if you're doing that on a 1 or a 5 minute chart, you've got to think pretty quickly. The last thing in the world you want to think of is this really my strategy? You need to know if it's a strategy. That's a massive part of a bit of advice. Master one thing. Specialists make more money. If you've got 10 strategies, you're going to cross them over. If you've got a strategy that works for you, stick with that strategy, master it.
How do you find your strategy? Did you come across it in courses or did you create it yourself?
I sort of created it myself. I actually had some software programmed for me. I wrote some of it, but then I got stuck, so I actually had it programmed. So it's basically a color system. So blue's going up, yellow's going down, black is sideways, or grey is sideways. You can't really see it on there. That's one of my small screens. But I generally use that. It works on several indicators. It works well for me. It works well for my students because obviously they're taught the same way I'd like to learn that. I'm not charging for the software. It's free to anyone who wants it. It's just literally blue is up, yellow is down, black is sideways, but you've got to match certain things up.
So given that you have a sort of market context tool there, how do you get into trades? What makes you want to get into a trade? I guess you go with the trend, but what goes into it?
I'm all about structure and price because indicators are there, but all indicators are lagging indicators, right? Price is the only real thing on the chart. So I like my support and resistance, key levels, trend lines. It's got to be moving in a direction. I'm very much a trend trader. It's hard to explain in a short podcast, but yeah, it's basically I'm trading with a trend. The trend is your friend. The trades are easier. They're not going to chop you about as much. There's not as much psychology as, you haven't got to live through massive pullbacks. You haven't got to worry about, moving stops or things. I never move a stop. People shouldn't move their stops, and generally new traders do because they always think they're right, Leave your stop where it is. If it stops you out, fine, you've done your job. If it hits profit target, fine, you've done your job. Good trading should be boring.
What kind of time frames do you focus on?
Personally, I'm greedy, so I'm looking at the daily. I get to the screens and we're broadcasting live in front of our students at about 7 o'clock in the morning. So I get to my screens, broadcast from 7. I'm looking at the daily chart. I want to see a trend on the daily chart, really, or I want to see the daily chart doing something. Then I go onto the hour, match it up, make sure it's doing the same sort of thing, or have an idea of what trades I'm interested in, what time they're going to play out, start playing out, and then I'll probably place my trade off of 5, even the 1 minute. Sometimes because I'm very greedy on some trades. And basically I'm just looking for the swing when it can come back round. Lots of support, resistance, lots of trend lines, and color changes for me. I've just made it simple for myself. If I'm going long on the day, long on the hour, and something turns blue on the 5 minutes, I'm pressing the button as long as I know the area I'm trading in. The program, it'll actually highlight when you should be. It's like training wheels. It'll actually highlight when you're supposed to be trading, when you're not. So that helps a lot of new students, but you grow out of that quickly, right? You know what you're looking for. You're looking for one thing. You just press the button. You know where your stop's going. My stop's always going behind the last swing. My first target is always 2 to 1. And I make it that simple. Now, when I'm saying I take all my money at 2 to 1, I'm saying at 2 to 1, I do something. So I might bank some money. I might move my stop to break even. There's 3 or 4 things I can do. But my plan for the trade will be there before I press the button in the first place. And that is very important for people. to understand. You really need to concentrate on one thing at a time. If you've got a plan for that trade and you've pressed a button, you need to know where you are in that market. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. If it stops you up, it's only stopping you up for a small percentage.
I'm noticing a lot of engineers go into trading. They like to have like very clear cut rules, like very systematic. They like to know when they get in, when they get out very clearly. Do you kind of go into that perspective, or are you more discretionary now as you become more experienced in trading?
I think you do automatically become more discretionary. I think when I first started, it was very rules based. We do a lot of personality profiling, and I was a very high C type. But as anyone who's done a personality profile knows, high C is you need to know quite a lot before you can move on to the next stage. It hindered me for a little while until I let go. My personality is my personality. Yeah, I need to know a lot first. This way I've broken it down so I don't need to know a lot. I just need to see my signal, press the button.
I know you mentioned a lot about freedom, and that's definitely a big part of trading. But tell me how, like, what's your typical routine with trading, and how do you make it all happen in your day?
My routine, I teach a bit now as well, so I'll get up for about 6, shower, have a coffee, get to the screens. I start trading at 7. Start trading live in front of people at 7. All my trades are taken live in front of other traders. I do that for about an hour in the mornings, and then someone else takes off over me, and I'm still trading until about 9. So from about 7 till 9, I'm trading. Then after that, I'll go and I might speak to some students. I might help some people out or whatever. Don't do anything then until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll go online again and we trade the US Open. And then generally between those times, I might have to go shopping these days or do something else. Or as I said, I'm in my holiday home at the moment, so I'd probably go for a walk should probably take me shopping again. But the freedom, I haven't got to be in front of the laptop all the time. I haven't got to do anything I don't want to do apart from shopping. But yeah, generally a general day, I speak to 2 or 3 students throughout the day. I speak to everyone in the morning between 7 and 9. Most people in the afternoon between 2 and 3:30. I'm done. And do whatever else I want through the day.
I want to go back to this. You mentioned something about the fact that you went full time with trading, and then the first 3 months you didn't make any money, and wonder if you have to go back to a job. Tell me what changed for you to be able to make it work with trading after those 3 months.
It was really hard time. So I'd given up my job. It was quite a highly paid job. So I'd left that money behind and thought, trading's everything for me. So I quit my job, started trading, couldn't make any money for 3 months. And it was psychological. It was all psychological. So it wasn't that I was not pushing a button on trades. It was I was probably not sticking to my rules, whereas I take money early because I needed the money suddenly. Mortgage to pay. So yeah, I was just stuck in a bit of a rut there for 3 months where I wasn't losing money, but I wasn't making any money. And it was a couple of months before Christmas, and I thought, oh shit, I've really, really got to do something here. I do this or I don't. I'd go and get a job, and there was no way I was getting another job. I did stick to my rules. I thought today I'm going to stick to my rules. So it was one day at a time. Today I'm going to stick to my rules. If I press the button, I'm not allowed to do anything. So what I was doing is pressing the button, and so I didn't fiddle with a trade. I go and look at a different market, and then I press place a trade on the next market. Turn it off. I wasn't allowed to look at those 2 markets. I'd actually put stop losses in and limit orders, so I'd take profit at 2 to 1. That day I made money. So I did the same the next day, and then the next day. And it was a day at a time, and then a week at a time, and then did okay up to Christmas. We had a great Christmas. And then from January, I kept doing the same and just building on it. I got back to the way I was trading when I had a job, because then suddenly I could see the money coming in, and I could see, yes, this is working now. I had worked on myself a lot with my psychology. I think my psychology for me is probably 95% of trading. I think seeing a strategy, anyone can get it. strategy, a working strategy. Psychology has got to be 95% of this. It has to be.
Was it the fact that you didn't have any other income, so you had to make it work with trading, or was it something else that kind of forced you to make more mistakes?
I think I made a lot of my mistakes early on, and I learned from them quickly. But when I was really struggling, when I gave up my job, because of course I gave up my job, there's no money coming in each month, and it is shit or bust. It is, I either make this work or I don't. I go and get a job. So literally, I didn't want to say to myself, right, I've got a job, because I didn't stick to my rules. So when I stuck to my rules, I started making money. So I could see that. So psychologically, realistically, that's what the bit I had to work on. So I did. I read lots of books, lots of things on YouTube, and as we all do, suddenly I got my thinking right. I got my thinking straight. I started making money, and then I didn't look back. But keeping it simple for me is quite honestly everything in this game. You keep it simple. You don't overthink things. If you're able to press the button, doesn't matter what you risk. If you risk £1 or £100 or £1,000, doesn't matter. It's the same trade. It's exactly the same trade. So yeah, when I worked out that I could make money, it was probably over Christmas, and then from the January on, I just really focused on me, not the way I was trading, just focused on me. And the other thing that helped was I started teaching people, and the reason for me and the reason I teach people is because I know I'm not going to teach you and then I'll stick to my rules. If I'm teaching you exactly the same way as I do it. Because if I break my rules, then it's not going to work for you. So it keeps me in line. That's massive for me. It keeps me accountable, yeah. And the other thing that keeps me accountable, and all the other traders do it, is when I'm presenting online, I'm taking trades in front of you. You can see every trade. You can see the profit and loss sheet at the bottom if you want. I don't look at it, but you can see winning trades versus losing trades. Raj does the same in the afternoon when he broadcasts in the afternoon with the stocks. My other traders do the same. And the students, I don't like calling them students because they're really traders. They're just young traders. We've got a chat room, and they can post in their trades as well, and we can have a look at them and see if they're good trades or not, and it keeps them accountable as well. Stick to your rules. Psychology, risk management, strategy is probably the last thing.
Did you ever go with the prop firms, or did you build up and going to training full time with your own capital?
So we all did the prop firm thing. I think 99.9% of traders did the funded account thing. So I had a lot of funded accounts with my Forex funds, and the 31st of August last year, they went bust. It was a hard evening. Lots of phone calls. I'm going to say I lost a lot of money, but it wasn't mine in the first place to lose. I'd had money for accounts back. I had about 1.1 million in funded accounts. It wasn't great because I always took my money on the first. It taught me a lesson. It taught me to start using my own money, and then more and more funded accounts is going through, obviously. I don't think it's the way forward. I don't think it's the future. I think real money accounts are the future. Obviously I'm a prop firm as well in the afternoon. So we trade stocks direct to market in the afternoon. There's no broker or anything. We'll actually fund you, but when we're funding you with real money. It's not a case of with a funded accounts. The funded accounts will pay you out of 10 people who've lost. Well, that's not right. We'll teach you how to trade. We'll give you the capital to trade. When you've got to prove risk management. You've got to prove a few things. There's not really a challenge. I just want to see risk management because you're looking for the same thing. I think that is probably the way forward instead of these funded accounts, personally.
What do you say is the main mistakes people make with funded accounts? How do they treat it the wrong way, or what are the common mistakes they make?
The common mistake with a funded account is it's not real money in the first place. So you buy a challenge for, I don't know, $400 or $500 or whatever it is now. And it's suddenly not real. That's all you can lose. So it still becomes like a demo process. And then there's normally two parts of the challenge. And generally people get the one part, get the 8%, and then think, this is great, blah, blah, blah. but they haven't had a real losing run on that. So the second part's normally a 5%, I believe now, challenge. Normally they have the losing run bit in there, and the 5% isn't big enough to keep them in the game, because they always go a little bit bigger. They always risk 1 or 2%, but they should be risking very small. But a lot of these places, when you've passed the challenge as well, which isn't an easy challenge, let's face it, especially if you're given 30 days for that challenge, for young traders, they're not going to appreciate that as much. They're going to want to pass them quickly. They're going to want to rush through them, and they're going to put their position size up a little bit more than they should. So control the risk management. But then again, some of these funded accounts aren't paying out anyway, even when you pass your challenge. They just don't pay you out. They'll say, right, it's arbitrage. I hear it every day, you know. You probably hear it every day as well. They'll say there's arbitrage, there's copying, there's this, there's that, and the other, and we're not paying you. So even if you start off with your own money and you start off small, or go and find someone who'll give you real capital to trade. Start off small. I mean, we're doing in the mornings we haven't got a funded account. In the afternoons we got a prop account in the afternoon for stocks. So in the mornings we use our own money. So I show people how to take £2,000 to £10,000, or £10,000 to £100,000. Because if you can do that, you've got it made anyway. It's real. You've got real feelings about that money. It turns you into a better trader overall. I don't think you can start really with anything less than about £1,000 to make a difference. But that's only 2 challenges, right?
Here's a question I get a lot, and I'm not sure you can answer it, or it might be kind of depending on each person, but a lot of people ask, how much money do you need from a prop firm or maybe even your own account to be able to go full-time with it? Is there like a certain amount you can pinpoint, or?
It is different for different people, I think. So I went with, I had about a £10,000 account. I think I put another 7 or 8 into it. So it was about 18, maybe 20,000 pounds. And back then, I was probably overtrading the bet, but I was going for £400 or £500 a day. In the UK, spread betting, so it's tax-free. So, which is great money. You can do that. It's not easier. It's a lot easier if you've got a £100,000 account or £1 million account. If you've got a £1 million account and you do 500 quid a day, it's a couple of pips, right? If you've got a £20,000 account, you've got to work relatively hard to get that. I would always say start off with 2. When you double your money, take your initial investment out. So take 2 out. The 2 that you've made, build that. So you've got you've got it's cost you no money, just time. That's the way I'd personally do it these days. Don't start with 10 or 20,000. Start slow. This is a game that's always going to be here. It'll outlive us, but you've got to protect your account at all times. Just keep things simple. Protect that account. Take your original investment out if you can and build on it. When you turn that 2,000 to 10,000, there's nothing stopping you to taking it 10,000 to 100,000. In fact, it's probably a bit quicker because you're limited on the trades you can take with 2,000. And then, generally you've made it there. It's hard work, a couple of years probably, but don't rush it. Now, if you're going to go and get a funded account of 100,000, it sounds great, right? Go and trade with 100,000, go and make yourself a couple of thousand a day. That's fine. But if they're not paying you out, you're wasting your time, and you're not actually learning anything. In my experience, when they were paying out, it was great.
I mean, something else I get as a question is, how do you know when you're ready to take a funded account or take the evaluation?
Everyone should journal their trades. Everyone should know when they're ready. Psychologically, they'll know when they're ready. If they're winning one, losing one, winning one, losing one, it's still probably there if your risk reward's right. Generally, people will know. If you're winning 1 out of 10 trades, if you're winning 50%, you're probably ready. 40% if you're 2 to 1 and making some money, right? So then you're probably ready to go and have a look. But again, funded accounts, be very wary. Read the small print. Try and find yourself some real money accounts.
Where can people find you and connect with you after this podcast? Where can they learn more about your work?
Well, I've got the website, dndtrading.co.uk. They can get me on LinkedIn. They can get me, I've sent you a link. There'll be links under this podcast as well. for blog pages, and easy to get hold of me. Just visit the website and ask questions.
Yeah, we'll put a link below for that. I know you have a lot of good stuff out there for sure for people, and you do post some trades on social media as well, which is kind of cool. I really appreciate that. Thanks for your time, James. It's been good to chat, and looking forward to see what people take out of it. Let us know in the comment section below. We'll be happy to hear what you love about this interview, the advice you took away, and we'll catch you back in the next interview.